Alright, so pag nahihirapan kayo sa ano, so just putting this out there, if you're 32 by 32 is a good starting point. Pero if you're having trouble, I'm going to allow you to make the canvas size a little bigger, maybe something around 40, if you need the extra space. Okay? So, papayagan ko na yan. Papayagan ko na yan kasi I do understand some of you are having trouble with 32 by 32. Okay? Alright, pero if I remember correctly, Brendan, kasi pinakita mo sa akin to nung nag-face-to-face tayo. Ang alam ko, nag-comment ako about the face, yung curve dun sa face. By the way, Brendan, can you give me a picture of yung what this character normally looks like?
Sige po, sir. Hold on.
Sige, palagay na lang sa ano.
Nasend na po, sir. Nasa PIXLART na chat po.
Okay. Right, kasi I want you to notice a few things here, like yung shape ng helmet, right, there is a bit more medyo mas triangular yung helmet than it appears in. So, okay. And yeah, if yung line na yan, I think we can take that out, or we can simplify it into something like this. Okay, and then you can add siguro bits of white na lang sa sides. I think that will still work. Pero yung overall shape ng helmet. And also, we can reduce the jaggedness of the lines here a little bit by taking out some of the pixels that you have here. So making it much clearer. Now I understand may parang black parts here. So I think we can put it there like this. Okay. Are we clear so far, Brendan?
Yes po, sir. Yes po.
So yeah, tingnan mo yung you can also notice yung shape ng shoulders. Like parts of the shoulders are actually peeking out like this. And you don't necessarily have to show thumbs, so you can actually just hide some of these to make it simpler. And again, as much as possible, Brendan, I wanted to avoid in jagged lines. So when I keep saying jagged lines, this is what I mean. So when you're drawing a curve na paganyan, okay? Kasi the thing about pixel art is if you're drawing a curve in pixel art, you're not necessarily drawing a curve kasi there are technically no curves in pixel art because everything is a square. Diba? So, if you want to draw a curve, natin yung canvas size natin. If you guys want to draw a curve, if you do something like this implies a curve. Okay? Pero once you add pixels in sa corner, now this is a sharp edge. Now this is a square. Okay, so kapag gagawa ka ng curve, it's based on the pixels per row. So pakonti yung pixels mo per row. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, bilang 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. And then this is when you shift 1, 1, then you shift direction here. Tapos ganun ulit. So, binibilang mo yung pixels mo per row, and that creates a curve, right? So, anytime you do this, this implies a sharp edge. So, ginawa natin siya here kay Virgil kanina, ito. Kasi gusto natin ipakita yung sharp, yung nabubuong sharp edge when you're wearing a coat like this. So, that's something that you can consider. Okay? So, am I clear, Brendan?
Yes po, sir. Thank you.
All right. So, moving on kay... Pero don't worry too much sa first activity, guys, kasi ano naman to, that's why we have the feedback sessions. Okay, so kay Joaquin, dalawa, we have Dante. Okay, and I think there's a second one. Cute naman na ito. Wait, let me just close some files kasi ang dami ng nakapila sa ano. Dami ko ng tabs masyado. Okay. So for this one, okay, I want you to try, kasi nakikita ko naman, I get that it's Dante, pero I want you to try more, try to get into yung more of the character's personality in it. I think a good way of doing this is look for a still image of the character and then just base it on that, para makuha mo yung pose that you're looking for. And I suggest playing around with the proportions a little bit. Like maybe make the head bigger, maybe make the hands bigger. Actually, I'm just going to drop the Ryu reference here. Para ano. So if you want to, you guys want, you can just grab the Ryu image and then just draw your character beside him. Hindi naman 32 by 32 si Ryu, so you can make use of yeah, so you can make the size a little bigger. But yeah, that's so by the way, yung Ryu na to, this came from Spriter's Resource, which is where I got the Alucard sprites as well. So that's also a good place to get reference because it's the sprites are always exported in the original pixel resolution. Okay, do you have any questions, Joaquin?
Sir, paano yung duck?
Yung?
Or goose? Yung goose, sir.
Actually, yung goose okay na eh. Wala akong issues with the goose actually. Yeah, I think this is pretty good already for what you're trying to do. Okay. All right. So moving on to Christine. Which character is this, Christine? Can you send yung picture of the character? Right. Ayato from Genshin. Matagal ko nang gustong maglaro ng Genshin pero feeling ko pag naglaro ako ng Genshin, hindi ko siya titigilan. So, hindi ako naglalaro ng Genshin.
Huwag sir, maubos oras niyo.
Yun ang inaalala ko. Okay. Ayan, so, Christine, nag-conk art ka na ba? Out of I'm not sure if I remember kasi. You're currently taking conk art. Okay. All right, so, pansinin mo sa, kasi I don't remember if you're in my class or if you're in Sir Ralph's class. Pero yung isa kasi sa mga unang lecture ko for comp art is looking at shapes. So, pansinin mo yung shapes ng character that you showed. Diba? So, you can exaggerate yung shapes niya kasi some of these shapes are pretty, like for example, yung the triangular shape of the blue parts here. I think you can push that even further. Kasi ang isang goal natin is to make the character design as recognizable as possible with limited So even with the small sprite, like just looking at how these shapes can be simplified. If it's a triangular shape here, and then you have that large black shape here for yung parang part nung parang may armor siya sa sa side diba? So you can also use white to imply highlights there. Diba? And you can actually make the character more recognizable as the character that you're trying to depict. So titingnan mo yung ano yung mga shapes na nabubuo na that are pretty clear, like the triangle shapes nung color, and then double down on that. If it looks triangular, then push it even further to make it actually look like a triangle. Tapos yun, yung parang armor sa shoulder. So yeah, you can find things that you can make or exaggerate or simplify even further. Para hindi siya hindi siya magmukhang generic. So by generic, I mean that it just looks like an ordinary jacket or an ordinary coat. Okay, is that clear so far, Christine? So yeah, look for shapes that you can push. May questions pa, Christine? I'm gonna move on to the next person. All right. So, by the way, kung sanay kayo na mabilis yung feedback sessions ko, yung pixel art class tends to go a bit longer kasi ito yung class na madalas maraming submissions every week. I don't know why, pero that just tends to happen. Okay, so si Rob from
Sir Rob the Robot, technically Smash character and Nintendo accessory.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for one. Yung actual na Rob na na gawa ng Nintendo na from the 80s.
Oh, isn't it
Yeah.
expensive, sir?
So so if you don't know what where this came from, basically yung family computer had an accessory called yung Rob the Robot, and then there are games where you have to attach the robot to your family computer.
Yes, and like there are some games na it should be played multiplayer, but if you don't have anyone with you, you can use Rob the Robot.
Yeah. So yeah, it's actually ito yung itong nilagay ni Lawrence, this is the US version. So the Japanese version has red arms. Kasi red and white yung color nung family computer. Yeah, so I already have a family computer here. I just need the robot. Nakita na ako nung cartridges nung for the NES, I've already found people selling the cartridges of the games for it, pero the actual robot I haven't found any. So although debatable pa if I'm actually gonna buy one kasi it's probably just gonna sit on my shelf kasi it's probably not something I'm gonna play regularly, pero I kind of
Feel ko na,
want.
sir, yung sunog. Yung sunog sa wallet kasi mahal yan.
Oh, most likely. Yung games na yung games that use the robot, nakakakita ako sa Shopee. Pero the robot itself, ang hindi ko mahanap. Pero yeah, I already have the Famicom. I just need the robot and the set will be complete. Pero anyway, going back here. Wait. So, I think you can push this a bit further. So, ito, tama-tama. May mga reference image na tayo dito. Uh, kasi may, I think you made some of the shapes here a little too big. By the way, ginagamit mo ba yung, may symmetry option yung A-Sprite, guys, if you don't know. You just press this here, and then magkakaroon ng line so that when you erase and draw, it does it on both sides to make it easier. Pero,
may ganyan pala. I did not know.
yeah, if you're making sprites that are like front view na kailangan, ako kasi bihira ako gumamit ng ganito for the sprites I make. Lagi kasi naka quarter view. Pero yeah, I think this one you can push a bit further. I think ang problem naman dito is medyo bitin sa details tong considering how simple the details for Rob can be, right? I think you can make a lot more, make this match the original design a lot more, since it's a pretty simple, like a pretty simple shape going on here. So
Oh,
yeah,
sige, sir. Got it.
I can push this even further, but I want to see more. Pero to be honest, I would like you to try doing this na quarter view.
So ano sir, may angulo siya.
Yeah, just for the ito yung kung nakikita mo yung second yung last na image na shinare dito sa chat. Something like that. Kasi pag
Sige, sir.
front view kasi nawawala yung challenge eh. Diba? So I would actually like to see you do it front view. Pero if you're pushing with the front view, yun lang, ang daming missing details that you can put in that you still have space to put in. So I would like you to try that a bit more.
Sige, sir. Got it po. We'll try kung kaya.
Yeah, pero sige, try mo yung quarter view para may challenge na konti.
Sige, sir. Thank you po.
Alright. Okay, so sino after ni Rob? I think it was kay Antonio. Okay, just open the file. Okay, this is a good start. Okay, this is a pretty good start. Pero I feel like you can make this a little bit more readable and you have enough space to do this. By the way, dapat pala chinecheck ko kung nandyan kayo. Antonio, are you there? Pa-confirm pala muna that you're there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ayan, okay.
Sir, do you need picture ba?
Sorry?
Do you need reference pictures?
Sige, please.
Okay, sir.
Ayan. Dapat nga pala kino-confirm ko muna kasi minsan may one time na nag-feedback session ako tapos kalagitnaan ng feedback session nag-CR yung student habang kausap ko siya. So hindi, ang dami niyang hindi narinig. So yeah, just make sure na you guys are there. Okay. And so this is good so far. Pero I feel like you can push this further, particularly sa limbs. Okay, so na-mention ko na before yung readability, na-mention ko rin before yung silhouette. So I'm just gonna take this opportunity to show you how it works. Okay, so if we take out all of the color information from this image, yan yung lalabas. Okay? Now, we want to make our silhouettes as readable as possible. And usually that involves yung hands and feet and legs, right? So you can take this opportunity to bring this arm out here a little bit more, or bring this hand here out here a little bit more, pero it's mostly this hand here. Okay, so hindi ko siya i-clean up, pero I'm just gonna bring the hand out here, and then I'm going to take the color information out once again, and makikita mo mas readable yung silhouette niya. Especially if you're planning on attaching weapons here sa hand, then that makes it much more readable. So I think you have enough space to do that. So that's an adjustment that I highly recommend you do. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions?
None naman po, sir. Thank
All
you.
right. So uh, kay Dale na tayo. Okay, Cuphead. Okay. Iwasan natin Dale. Dale, pa-confirm that you're there. Okay. So, iwasan natin yung masyadong jagged yung lines. Especially for a character that's usually very rounded ang design. So, yeah, let's keep it that way. Ito, pwede mo i-sharpen yung edge kasi index finger niya yan. Diba? Pero yeah, reduce the amount of jagged lines. And also, like, gawin natin mas clear yung overlaps. Or maybe something like this. Pero other than that, this is pretty straightforward, so okay naman. You can add more details to the eyes, I think. Pero I think this is already working pretty well. Yeah, wala pa namang masyadong issue so far aside from the jagged lines. Siguro pwede mo pa ibaba ng konti yung hand kasi parang ang ikli ng arm niya dito. I think you can make the hand a little lower here. But other than that, yeah, I think pretty straightforward naman so far. So yeah, just avoid jagged lines na lang. Let's just make it a rule unless you are trying to make a straight edge. Okay, clear tayo, Dale? Okay. Ang pwede mong gawin is you can rely on using a shape tool for this. So, extend lang natin yung canvas. Yeah, doblehin natin yung canvas size. Yeah. So, you can rely on shape tools for making your shape. So, for example, itong shorts. Especially with Cuphead, where everything is pretty round most of the time. And I think mas mapupush mo pa yung to make it look like him if you make like the nose bigger, the eyes bigger. So notice hindi pa ako naglalagay ng outlines here. But I think this can work. Let's flatten mo lang itong taas. Kasi when it comes to characters like Cuphead and yung mga characters na based on that 1930s art style, it's mostly kasi ang tawag sa animation style na yun is rubber hose because they all look like they're made out of rubber hoses. So yeah, if you start with rounded shapes right away, then it's going to be much easier to make them rounded. Clear so far, Il? Tsaka iwasan mo lang yung mga ganyang edge. Again, there are certain instances where you will want to use that. Pero, yun lang. For now, if you're making very rounded characters, then just avoid muna. Okay? So I think we have 3 more. May questions ka pa, Dil? Okay. So yes. Yung next natin kay Dwight.
Yes, sir.
Alright, this is pretty good. Okay, pero what you guys will notice here. Wait, sorry. Dwight, be there.
Yes, sir. Nandito po.
Okay. Were you trying to say something? Na cut off ata kita.
So, that's the colored one po. Pero I also have yung 3 colors lang po for the activity po.
Ayan, can you send that one first?
It's also there po. It's on a different layer po.
Okay. There we go. Yeah, this is pretty good. So, what I like about this is it's very clear who this is, despite the limits here. Pero I think you can push this a bit further because you still have more space. I think you can push for a more dynamic pose. Even if the character is just standing, diba, you can make a pose more dynamic, just making a few adjustments here. So yeah, I think a better pose is what I'm looking for. Yeah, compare mo yung tayo nito sa tayo nito. Diba, parang generic lang. Dito parang it's much more action oriented. So, I do recommend trying to push these poses a bit more. Kasi, again, just to really emphasize the point of silhouettes and readability, with sprites, you're actually looking at sprites that are very limited, which means that they have to be very recognizable right away. Okay? So, kaya medyo pinupush natin yung for more dynamic posing, more exaggerated poses, even if we are looking at very small sprites. Okay? Kasi yung when you're looking at character design, it's a combination of the character's costume and the way the characters carry themselves. Diba? So if we want Tracer to look cool, then she has to have a cool outfit, which she already does, and then she has to have a cool pose as well. Right? So, ayun lang, Dwight, I think you should push the poses a bit. You can also try something like this, where kunyari mas exaggerated ng konti. Although I think this is too much na, pero I'm just showing you what's possible. So, yeah, ang comment ko lang dito, Dwight, is try to play around more with poses.
Sige po, sir. Noted pa.
Okay, pero this is a very good start.
Thank you,
I
sir.
like how this is going. Alright? May questions ba?
None naman pa.
Okay, so next natin yung kay Renzo. And then kay Joaquin. So I'm just downloading the file. Okay, Renzo, pa-confirm that you're there, and can you also
Yes,
show
sir.
me? Can you also show me the original image for this?
Send po, sir.
Ayun. And I think this is a good start as well. Let me grab the other one. Okay. All right. So when it comes to something like this, I think what we need is to push some of the proportions more. I thought this one is pretty okay. Uh, pero there are certain areas where, ito yung sinasabi ko earlier na it's no longer productive to uh, put as much detail as you can.
Mhm.
So in certain areas, you can make things simpler, just a little bit simpler. But it's a chainsaw, so maybe just add white around it, and that should make it more clear that it's a chainsaw.
Mhm.
Yung parang barrel na shape dito naman sa body, you can also just add, and you don't have to draw the lines entirely. Like you can vary the thickness of these lines, but you can just add just a few, and that should give you enough information. So uh, the reason I'm pointing that out is because we also want to make sure na, kasi if you put as many details as you can, like tagtarin natin ng lines yan, then a lot of what you're looking at gets lost because there's so much detail that you're looking at. So we are limiting the amount of detail just so that the viewer can instantly recognize what they're looking at. So you can also just add bits here, pero you don't have to make the lines complete or anything, and that should still be readable. So we want to see what we can simplify to make it clear what they're looking at. Okay? Now, dito sa isa, for this one, I think you can play around with proportions to make things more readable. For example, maybe make the hands a little bigger, maybe make the head a little bigger. Just to make these particular parts a bit more emphasized.
Mhm.
And then you can push that further because I'm looking at the uh, character's design here, and parang ang hina-highlight dito aside from the face is the size of the arms, right?
Mhm.
So you can bring that a little more by exaggerating it by making the feet smaller. That way, mas na-emphasize yung laki ng arms niya. You get what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Okay? So, pro tip then for people who want to make characters that look big, you can make characters look big by making certain parts look small. Okay? Pinaka-effective yan sa head. If you have a, hide lang natin to. If you have, let's say meron kayong character standing, and you want to make this character look like a giant, just make the head smaller. And now it looks like the character's bigger. Diba? Very effective even with mecha designs. Kasi we tend to look at character designs in relation to us, particularly with scale. Like we look at them in relation to how big we are. So, uh, so yeah, you can make a character look bigger by making the head look smaller. Okay, any questions, Renzo?
None, sir.
Okay, pero it's a good start na. Sabi ni Isa, that's what I was trying to do with my Kratos. Not necessarily. It's not necessarily wrong, Isa. It's just na ang gusto ko lang i-focus mo sa kay Kratos is also to try to play around with the pose. It's not necessarily wrong when you made the head smaller. Just make the pose a little more dynamic or a little more na pasok sa character niya, I think. Okay, so alright, so hahabol si Lawrence. So we're gonna do Joaquin's work and then Lawrence, and then we'll see if we end the session here. Okay, Sekiro. Um, wait, are you there, Joaquin?
I'm here, sir.
All right. Okay, so I want to see how you simplify this with just 3 colors, but also I want a better pose and better allocation of values here. So when I say allocation of values, if you notice, uh, there is a large amount of the character's costume is dark. Yeah, they are blending a bit too much. Kasi a large amount of the character's costume is dark here. Okay, nagets ko na kung bakit nagta-type mag-isa yung keyboard ko. Ayan. Okay. So, a large amount of the character's costume is dark. Turns out I was pressing shortcuts while I'm in Discord, kaya nagta-type siya mag-isa. So a large part of it is dark, which makes the lighter parts show up even more. Kasi ito, nagbe-blend na yung colors dito. Diba? So you want to make a good amount of contrast to make sure that the orange parts of the costume is brought out more. But also, I want to see a better pose, and I want to see this in 3 colors. Okay? Are you clear?
Yes, sir. Better pose, 3 colors. Gotcha.
Any questions?
Do the 3 colors involve black and white and another color?
Yeah, black and white and the color or third color of your choice.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay, so dito tayo kay Lawrence. Lawrence, pa-confirm that you're there.
Hello po, sir.
All right. Kay Astro Boy, okay, so far, this is good kasi mukhang inayos mo yung posing. Although, I want to see outlines here kasi right now, hindi siya consistent. Like, the head has outlines, but the body has no outlines. So,
Opo.
I want to see outlines there.
So regarding dun sa outlines po, like napansin ko yung iba like they don't have like outlines, the black outlines, yung iba meron black outlines. Ano po ba yun? Like when like personal preference na po ba yun or like when do I know kung mas maganda mag-outline or not po?
It's partly personal preference and partly depending on what you're trying to do. Kasi if you're, ang tatanda mo, when you're adding lines, yung line is essentially 1 pixel thick, which means that's going to take out space. So if you're trying to work on something like the Alucard example kanina, you're trying to make the most out of a very small amount of space, then adding outlines will just make things thicker. Diba?
Opo.
So kaya ako pinoint out yung outlines here though is because may outline yung head,
Yeah, opo.
and walang outline yung body. So if you don't want to use outlines, then take out the outline
Opo.
dun sa head. Right? So it's more, at least for this, it's more of a consistency issue.
Okay po.
I think you can push this a bit further, like maybe, like do you need the mouth, right? Or you can, or maybe you can manage with just eyes. Maybe you can make the mouth a little smaller. Diba? That way you show Astro Boy's design a little bit more.
Opo.
You can also play around with proportion a bit kasi right now, this arm is a little too big, this arm is a little too small. Maybe nahihirapan ka kasi medyo ginawa mong wide yung body. So, in this regard, outlines can help kasi pwede mong gawing nandito yung arm and then you can add an outline here to show that the arm is going above the body.
Opo.
So that's also another option. Pero yun lang, you have to decide whether or not you're going to push with outlines or not.
Okay po.
Okay, for the sake of consistency.
Thank you po.
Okay, any questions?
Good naman po. Okay na po.
Okay, so last call for questions or concerns before we stop recording. Questions or concerns regarding this? Wala na? Magsa-stop na ako ng record, ah. Okay, so stopping recording now. So yan, medyo matagal siya.